Rabbit and Steel might just be my favorite roguelike of all time. That's a crazy statement to me who never thought anything could dethrone Binding of Isaac from that spot. But here we are, and I simply cannot put this game down. Rabbit and Steel is a co-op game that aims to recreate that feeling of raiding in an MMO, but mixed with roguelike elements and bullet hell focused gameplay. It can be played solo or co-op up to 4 players, and just let me say, it pulls it off fabulously. I found myself instantly hooked. While I am not an MMO grinder or a bullet hell player, I do love myself a good roguelike, and I was a fan of the developer's previous game, Maiden in Spell, which was a game in similar style, but instead of being focused on co-op raiding, it was a fighting game. And I found that one really cool and I loved the presentation of it. Before we start diving deeper into this game, it would help out the channel a ton if you could drop a like and subscribe for more gaming content, but let's just get right back into it. It took me roughly 10 hours to clear my first run on normal mode. For some, it could be faster, for some slower. It really depends on your skill level and just the overall nature of roguelikes in general. The game asks you to improve your own skills in a few different ways. First, and the most obvious one, is learning to weave through projectiles. Enemies will throw a lot at you and can easily overwhelm you. Then there are the raiding mechanics, similar to those found in Final Fantasy XIV. They vary greatly from stage to stage, but can be things like moving to a certain color circle, moving a certain distance away from a point on the map, maybe just staying still for a certain amount of time, and really a whole bunch more. But at the end of each stage, you'll run into something called an area boss that uses the mechanics from earlier in the stage but all at once, demanding you to have them nailed down to overcome the boss. These, mixed with the projectiles flying all over the place, quickly becomes a lot to comprehend. But the game isn't just avoiding projectiles, you have to deal damage as well. That's when you have to start thinking about your skill rotation, because you always want to be casting so you can deal damage, so you can minimize the chances of you getting hit. When playing through the game, I was primarily playing Dancer, and I found it best to start the fight with my defensive skill to buff myself. Then I would use her special to deal a good chunk of damage, then proceeded to alternate between my primary, which was good when I was in a position and didn't need to move really fast in that moment, and then her secondary, when I needed some more mobility but still wanted to deal damage. The unique thing about Dancer is her primary and secondary attacks have a 30% chance to reset the cooldown on her special. So every time I heard that little chime notifying me it was reset, I was sure to use that. But remember, this is a roguelike, and throughout each run you'll run across loot and a shop at the beginning of each stage, offering you items and upgrades that can change the way your abilities work or give you a new passive. Depending on the items you pick up, a good player will adjust their skill rotation to maximize their damage per second. But that's just one class. When you boot up the game for the first time, you'll have 5 classes to choose from, each having their own learning curve, and as you play more and more, eventually you'll unlock the other classes. There is a ton of depth to this game, and it is a roguelike that is a hard reset with each death. While you can unlock new items to be able to find them in future runs, there are no overall stats you can upgrade like you can in something like Hades. For me, this is preferred, since when you overcome an obstacle, it's because you got better, not because you were able to push up your universal stats. That was one of my biggest gripes about Hades, but that's a little bit of a side tangent. The upgrades you'll come across in the game fall into a few categories. First, there are items that will augment your stats, like increasing damage, movement speed, giving certain abilities status effects, and so on. These are cool, but the big augmentations come from gem upgrades in the shop. These immensely change the way you play the game. For Dancer, my favorite was the one that greatly increased your special's damage, but sets the cooldown time to 99 seconds, making you entirely reliant on using your primary and secondary to reset it. Then from there, I would just take items to try to maximize my special's damage, while also increasing my luck so I could get those resets more often. And from there, I was cooking. But there's a whole bunch of different gem upgrades, and maybe you won't come across that specific one, so you have to kind of have some on-the-fly thinking. Then there are also things you can buy from the shop that are one stage use, so it'll only be active for the rest of the stage, but sometimes they can really help you in a pinch. While this seems like a lot, and trust me, it is, one of my favorite quality of life things implemented into this game is the ability to choose your starting room. Each stage is wildly different and has its own set of mechanics and can take quite a few times to get used to them. So being able to choose the stage I am currently struggling with and getting those reps in greatly improved the pace in which I improved. So much better than having to wade through multiple stages just to attempt learning the mechanic and failing and have to go through an entire run just to try again. One thing I want to point out as well, I absolutely adore the art. It's very simple, cute, and effective. On top of that, the music is fantastic. Never once was I put off from the music, and whenever I enter Emerald Lakeside, I find myself bopping my character up and down while vibing with the music. That one is an absolute banger right there. As I said earlier, I've only cleared the game with Dancer on normal mode. There are still classes I need to unlock. I want to clear the game with other classes, and on top of that, there's 2 more difficulties, one called Hard and one called Lunar. I know deciding when to review a roguelike can be a bit difficult since beating the game isn't the end point. There's still plenty of other things left to try in the game and also to discover. But I wanted to put this video out there, and we'll probably revisit it in a future video once, maybe I'll just put this out there right now. Once I clear Lunar, which I'm determined to do, but that's definitely a long road ahead of me. If it took me 10 hours to clear normal, I imagine Lunar is pretty far away. But I'm going to try. I'm going to start playing on hard mode and then bump up eventually. I think I have to clear hard mode to unlock Lunar, but I digress. Rabbit in Steel is a game I recommend with my entire heart. The gameplay is tight and rewarding, optimizing your DPS on the fly as new items get introduced, the beautiful presentation, it's all just an amazingly tight package that I will continue to sink hours into. Go play Rabbit in Steel. It's on Steam and it's only $15 full priced. I hope to see more out of this game, whether it be content updates, DLC with new classes and new stages, or just a sequel. I need more Rabbit in Steel. Alright, so that was just my quick first impressions review of Rabbit in Steel. I know I'm pretty early in the game, there's still a lot left to discover, so maybe not so much a review, more of an impressions video, but I love this game. If I swayed you to purchase this game, let me know. Or if this is a game you've been enjoying as well, also let me know. I do have a Discord link down in the description below. Maybe we could get some raids in. But as always, just keep playing games and have a good rest of your day.